April has come and gone, and once again, I am late to my monthly reading wrap up. But it's better late than never, as I always say. So in April, I managed to read 27 books, 13 of my physical TBR, and the rest were audiobooks, I believe. I don't think I had any ebooks. I haven't been reading them as much. I gave my Kindle away, and then I was gifted an e-reader that I just recently got. And so I am excited to maybe dabble in that, hoping that will bring back my love of reading ebooks, but we will see. Overall, it was a great reading month. I have been really into finishing a series that I have started. So I have several trilogies in here, and I have enjoyed them all immensely. And so we'll get to those at the end. I thought I would talk about all of my audiobooks that I managed to read, with the one exception that I'm going to mention here quickly. So I was gifted a book by an indie author, and I'm not going to mention the name of the author or the name of the book. I'm really not trying to slander. I'm just sharing a very frustrating experience that I had. And also, this was one of the books that I read in April. And so I was very excited to get this book. It had all the things that I really enjoy in books, so I was sure I was going to eat it up. Whenever I got the book, I always make sure that at least in a haul, we'll share that the book was gifted to me, all of that, right? I feel like that's the bare minimum. So I made sure to do that. I don't like to tag authors in reviews. I used to tag authors here occasionally, and really positive reviews, of course. I would never tag an author in a negative review. I just don't do it anymore. I'll tag a publisher all day long, but not authors. Whenever I talked about the book, I did have a lot of issues with the book. I ended up giving it 3 stars, which I don't think is a bad rating at all. And I noticed that, and once again, I did not tag the author, but I noticed that after I had reviewed the book, I noticed that the author had unfollowed me and all that kind of stuff. That is their right to do whatever they want. I know that I have done it and will continue to do it for several times. Protect your peace at the end of the day. But I just want to say, this is one reason that I don't even like to follow authors back or anything like that, because it's just so disheartening, because I'm just trying to give an honest review of the book that you have sent me. And I'm not saying you even have to like my review. That, again, is totally fair if you don't, but it always makes me weary, even if a publisher, even a big publisher will send me a book, because it's just like, well, you asked that you want to be tagged in the reviews, you asked that you want to do these things, and then you give a review that maybe isn't a 5-star review or a 4-star review or whatever the case may be, just people being upset with you for it. And so while I understand that this person is not traditionally published and stuff like that, and again, it is their right to do whatever they want to do, I found it really disheartening. It was really frustrating, and I am just like, I did the thing that you asked me to do, and that's all I can do, but still really frustrating. So let me get off my soapbox about that. Anyway, let's talk about the books that I read via audio. Struck Speechless, which is an arc that I had, absolutely 5 stars. This is so good. The Second Chance Romance. Tati Richardson is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors. All of her characters, all of them, are always in their 40s and above, always. And I think that representation is so important. She is just so good at her craft. And this is the second book after losing sight, so we do get to see the characters from the first book. I absolutely recommend it. It's so good. I love that she always has some sort of plus size representation. A lot of her characters are, we have several in there that are queer, and I just really love her books as a whole. They are filthy, they are spicy, and they make me smile every single time. Don Caselli by Jaquel J. I loved this. I wasn't a big fan of 10,000 Hours. I wasn't vibing with it, but whenever I read about Navy and Dawn, the way that Navy's parents love her, the way that they support her, so beautiful. I love the conversations around being childless by choice, and I think that is so important. I think a lot of people who choose not to have children get a lot of hate for it, or get a little bit of a side eye or some comments from family and stuff. And so I just really love that in this book, this was the choice that they made. Of course, it talks about things like abortion and all of that, and I just thought it was beautifully done. The way that Dawn loves Navy and the way that Navy loves Dawn is absolutely beautiful. Gonna get me every single time. And then I ended up reading Homies, Lovers, and Friends 1 through 5. Now, the thing with Jaquel J, most of her books are very short. Occasionally, you will get a book that's a little bit longer. So I know that probably seems like a lot, but they're all relatively short. So all the audiobooks are anywhere between 6 and 7 hours if you're listening to it at one time speed. I enjoyed this as well. We are following 4 different people, 2 different couples, messy as hell per usual. I was really cheering on some of them. Some of them I was not happy with. Rightfully so. Of course, there's things like cheating, secret children, secret families. So good. You really can't go wrong with Jaquel J. I read Death's Daughter. I think I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It is about a girl who is in college, and her friends start dying, so she has to figure out what's going on. We have a love triangle a little bit. She had a forbidden romance with a man that she did not know was going to be working at her college. And so I think this was fun. This was very much like a palate cleanser. I do think it's the first book in a series. I'll continue it. Like, it wasn't anything that I thought was like, oh my gosh, over the top, but I had a good time with it. Big Girl Blitz. Oh my gosh, this was so good. So this is the third book in the Curve series, and I really enjoyed it. I will say it's not my favorite of the 3 books. Plus Size Player Dish will always have my heart, but Big Girl Blitz is so good. And we are following a young woman whose aunt is dying, and she is her caregiver. And so beautiful, especially when you can relate to that very heavily. Cancer fucking sucks. Sickness sucks, disease sucks, it just all fucking sucks so bad. And so I really appreciated this conversation. I loved her aunt. I thought she was beautiful. Her love interest is a football player. They connect over their love of football, and he was very patient with her. I'm sorry, y'all, I cannot remember their names right now, and I'm not gonna stop and look it up, because here's the thing. Whenever I am doing my monthly wrap-ups, I don't go back and read the blurb. I don't do anything. I just do it off of memory. And so I apologize if it sounds awful, but that's just how we make it work. Anyways, but I really loved how patient he was with her. I think it got played out a little bit too long, like her insecurities about their relationship. It was just drug out a little bit too long, which is why I didn't love it as much as I did Plus Size Player. But Danielle Allen is so good at what she does. Again, these are contemporary romances. They are interconnected. I do suggest that you read Curvy Girl Summer first. Beware, there is some type of fat phobia in all of these books, not from the author, but from other people, which I do think is an accurate representation, of course, because these are all beautiful Black plus size women, and they are loved down bad. I'm going to tell you that. The men in their lives will literally do anything for them. Transland was one of my nonfiction picks for April, and this was okay. I learned a lot. It's about kinks and sexual preferences and really finding who you are, whether that is sexually or with your gender. So I thought the audiobook was done really well. I do think it felt a little bit surface level-y, just like a little bit. So I would have loved to go deeper, but overall I enjoyed it. And then I also read another memoir, which was Crying in H Mart. This is one of my TBR way too long. I know it is very beloved, and I can see why. We are talking about a young woman who, it's really her relationship with her mother and her father, but her mother ends up getting cancer. Readable book for me. Once again, my mom has cancer and has had cancer for several years, and it's just a very hard, obviously, battle for the person who's dealing with it. It's hardest for them. It's also hard to be grieving somebody who is still alive. And so we are seeing that a little bit in this memoir, but really we're watching their relationship, and I really enjoyed it. The Ballad of Black Tom, I don't remember much about this book. I will be honest. It's a historical steampunk. I might try more from this author. I just didn't love it. While You're Receiving was really fun. It started off really strong for me. We have our plus size main female character, and she is a publicist, if I remember correctly, and she basically has to help this man who she does have a history with. Yes, they were in college together, and he is a romance author, but he doesn't really participate in romance in his real life. So he needs some help cleaning up his image. She's going to be the one to do it. I will say the tent scene, that has lived rent-free in my head. I really loved that tent scene, really good. I love how they have these feelings for each other they obviously don't want to share. Plus, they weren't friends in college. Of course, it's always a big miscommunication as to what was really going on in each other's minds, but I really enjoyed his feelings for her. It wasn't even a thing that she was plus size. You know what I'm trying to say? His preference was a plus size woman, but also it wasn't like, oh, I love you in spite of this. You know what I mean? And so I always enjoyed it. The audiobook was a lot of fun. I will say that. I want to try out more from this author because I have heard that her other work is really good, and I believe she has all plus size women in all of her books. So I would say read it. I read Morsel. I did not like this. I really thought I was going to. The blurb sounded really interesting. It was just one of those books that was too on the nose. It was just like the author had to literally spell out every single thing, and it was annoying. So I don't recommend. All right, let's move on to my physical book. I Was Sent Aviary by Severn House. I love this cover. I will be keeping this book because of the cover. Did I love the book? I didn't love the book. This is like a suspenseful thriller, and there were a lot of things that I enjoyed about it, but there were a lot of things I didn't. It started off very strong. We are following a young woman who is an immigrant, and her mother has passed. Her little sister has been dealing with like a drug addiction, and one day she's at her home, and her little sister is at the doorstep. But the thing is, her little sister is dead. Our main female character is thinking that it was based on what her body looks like. She thinks that it was a drug overdose. It is pretty graphic. Decides, because her sister had gone to the US, that was her goal. Her sister was an artist, and so she was like, I'm gonna make it to the US. And she did make it to the US. And so her big sister, who we are following, was not anticipating seeing her at all, but then definitely not seeing her dead. And so she really wants to get out of the space that she's in, and so she decides she's going to steal her sister's passport because they do look a lot alike, and she's going to go to US. So when she goes to the US, it is just a shitstorm from there, and she ends up in this house and this program that her sister was a part of, and she's trying to unravel what happened to her sister, but what is happening with all of these artists and girls that are in this house. Of course, there is a white man at the scene of the crime, because there always is. A twisty and turny. There was a POV that we got in here of the white man's not, I guess, technical ex-wife, right? And those chapters, while they were somewhat interesting, I don't really feel like that was the point of the story. I thought we were mainly going to be following our main female character and her relationship with her dead sister. It just fell really flat for me. This is the issue that I have with a lot of thrillers. I don't actually find them very thrilling, and I wanted it to be really thrilling. You know what I mean? The house is probably what you expect it to be. Let me just say that. But I do think that there is a lot of promise in this writing. And again, it's one of those situations. I'm so grateful to be sent the book, but I'm just like, Stubborn House is never going to send me a book again because they're going to be like, you didn't absolutely love it. So there were a lot of themes and conversations in this book that I really enjoyed. And there is another book by this author that I want to try, but overall, it just fell flat for me. Then I read Shards of Silence. So this is a middle grade book, and or you could say very young YA, but I think middle grade is probably the more appropriate description of this book. But I really enjoyed this book. So this is about Derek, has just gotten a scholarship to this elite boarding school, and he is so excited. He's worked so hard, very excited to go. And in this book, this is the conversation of native boarding schools, which essentially is when white people all across Canada, the US, took native nations and kidnapped their children and tried to make them believe in what white people believe in, right? And so what Derek doesn't know is that Masani Mildred, which is his great-grandmother, she was also brought to one of these boarding schools when she was younger. She has a lot of trauma. She doesn't remember a lot. And he starts to uncover the atrocities of these boarding schools, but also advocating for his community while he's in this school. And I thought it was done so well. I think that if you have never read about the history of these boarding schools, then this will be a great start. I really enjoyed it. I read Imaginary Girls, and so this was a recommendation for my 26 books for 2026, and I'm happy that I read it. It's not one that I will keep on my shelves, unfortunately. I think I gave it 3.25 stars. It wasn't a bad book. Again, it is a thriller, and sometimes those are just very hit or miss for me. Basically, we're following two sisters, and one of the sisters, she has this power over this town that they live in, and it is creepy. Kind of gonna freak you out a little bit, but we're basically discovering how she's connected to this town, what that looks like, and we are doing it through the eyes of her little sister. She tells her little sister one day to basically swim out in this water to basically impress her friends. Well, when her sister does, she ends up drowning, but her older sister is able to help her come back to life, and we don't really fully understand what that looks like. I will say these two sisters will literally do anything for each other. Their relationship is very toxic. It's very unhealthy. But I will say, someone with several sisters, but especially close to my baby sister, you know what? Even though our main female character is not what she seems, I understand her love for her sister. Rest Stop was one of the highlights of my month. This little novella gripped me from the first page. Nat Cassidy, he is just proving over and over again to be one of my favorite authors. Definitely an auto buy. This is check your triggers. That's what I'm gonna say. I heard that this might be adapted. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but I can definitely see why. I will be watching it, even though I'll be watching it like this. The thing is, I love reading horror or splatterpunk or very gory things. And I can watch gory things on the TV. It's just like the horrific part, the creepy music that freaks me out. But anyways, this is so good. We're following a young man that is basically traveling back home because his grandmother is dying. The thing about his grandmother is that she's basically a bitch. And he talks about that in the story. But he stops at the gas station, and let's say his life will forever be changed. This had everything I wanted in a novella, and I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I think everybody should read it if this is your type of genre. Goats Out on the Mountain was actually the first of James Baldwin's work, which I learned when I read this. Shout out to my friend Molly. And so this was a great buddy read. I am so happy that I read it. This book is definitely heavy on religion. Heavy. I did read on the back of the book, though, that James Baldwin said that if he didn't write this, he wouldn't have written anything. So I'm very grateful that he wrote this. This was very hard for me to read personally as someone who has deconstructed the religion that I was brought up in and no longer shares those beliefs. This was very relatable in a lot of ways, but also very hard to read. I definitely suggest it. I think James Baldwin is a master, and I've loved all of his work that I've read. Lucky Girl. So this is for my bookies who love dance moms. We are following Lucy, and she is a dancer, and she's very good at what she does. And we're basically just following her life and career. It's a coming of age. She does not treat her mother well. She really doesn't. She's got 2 brothers and a dad. And we're kind of also following their stories a little bit, but it's mainly about her mother and one of her older brothers who deals with drug abuse and addiction and things like that. And overall, I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. It's one of those books that I'm keeping because I love the cover so much. But we really are watching Lucy. I actually found her pretty unlikable most of the time. And it makes sense. Towards the end, she starts to mature a little bit. We do have a sapphic relationship in here as well, which I was not anticipating. It's a very small part of the book, but as someone who loves any type of romance or love in a book, I can't help but point it out. But I will say that we do see Lucy grow up. We also see her in a lot of really awful situations, being taken advantage of because of her age, and there are just a lot of things that she should not have been a part of. We are really seeing her in the dance industry, and the author really showcases a lot of the things that shouldn't be happening there. So anyways, I enjoyed it over. Love Galaxy was also a highlight of one of my months, and this technically is the first in a series, so I guess I should have kept this with the series part, but it is what it is. This is, you'll hear it described as The Bachelor set in space, but basically we are following 2 twins who they need to find their love matches, and that's that. And I will say, I love this so much. This is a sapphic sci-fi romance book, and I buddy read this with 3 other people, and we all gave it 5 stars. If that's really all you need to know, it is that good. I would love to have book 2. I am just so ready for it. The yearning in this, the tension in this, it's like a bit of a slow burn. I am someone who also loves reality TV, and I have no shame in that. And so this was giving me everything that I wanted to, but we also had those sibling dynamics, which I really enjoyed. Of course, everybody is reading Japanese Gothic. This actually really worked out for me because I did have the ALC, and then Aardvark decided to come out with a special edition that is signed. And so I was so excited. So I did get to do the immersive read for this. I love Bat Eater and Other Names for Korzang by Kylie Lee Baker. That is one of my favorite books. It still is my favorite even after reading Japanese Gothic, but this is beautiful and dark. We have 2 different timelines. They are interconnected. There is a bit of a mystery going on. There's family dynamics. There is just so many different things. It's a little bit gory. It's a little bit bloody. It's a lot heartbreaking, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely recommend. Let's move on to the trilogies that I finished. So I did finish Jade Legacy. The way I was sobbing at the end of this book, I needed 5 to 7 business days to recover. I still don't think I'm over it. I'm really not. And I said it in all of my reviews when talking about this. I'm going to say it again. It is truly like it's a train wreck waiting to happen, and you are the bystander, and you know what's going to happen. You hope it doesn't, but it does, and then you have to deal with the consequences afterwards. Bawled like a baby. This is an urban fantasy. We are following this family. We are following several different characters, actually, and it is just so intricate. The way that Fonda Lee writes, she's one of my favorite authors. She just is. I also loved Untethered Skies by her. I gave that novella 5 stars. This was just so good, which is so great because I really wasn't convinced. When I read Jade City, I really wasn't convinced, but man, I am this family and this family is me. And then I read book 2, The Faithless. This is a part of the Magic of the Lost trilogy by C.L. Clarke. This was fantastic. I love it. I'm so invested in these characters. It's queer as hell, and it has everything that I love. I don't know what you want me to say. I really don't. I am going to try to read the 3rd book here in May. We'll see if I get to it, but it is damn good, and I definitely suggest. And then lastly, I finished up the Burning Kingdom trilogy. So overall, I would say that this trilogy is solid. It is this beautiful sapphic plant magic world, and we have a little bit of forbidden love, all that kind of stuff. I overall really enjoyed it. Obviously, I was stabbing the hell out of them. I just think that the setup, book 1, for me personally, set us up for failure when it came to the romance part, because while I do understand that when we are under dire circumstances that love can bloom, I just didn't find that first book to be believable. And it's so frustrating because there's some beautiful lines in here, the prose in here, all of it. And so I just wanted just more from the romance, because by the time you get to book 3 you're just like, oh my gosh. And so I think it would have made a bigger impact on me if it wasn't so rushed in book 1. But I will say that this is done so well. There is found family. There's so many great side characters. We have gods in here. We have religion that ends up burning girls and women. We have an evil emperor, all of the things. So, do I suggest it? I absolutely suggest it. I think everybody should read it. I am very proud to have these on my shelf. So, that's everything that I read for April. And I thought it was a pretty good month. I've been focusing heavily on my physical TBR. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not requesting as many arcs, and that's just the season that I'm in. But I would say overall, I had a really great reading month. Thank you for watching so much. For my bookies who watch, you guys genuinely motivate me to come and make sure that I'm giving the longer form content for this. And I just appreciate all of the comments and the likes and the shares. Like, genuinely, it really means a lot to me. And so I just want to say thank you. I hope that whatever you're reading is bringing you joy.